time of year to identify a sugar maple tree is in the autumn season. The colors are bright, the leaves are still on the trees, and so it's easy to tell based on the shape and the color of the maple leaf what particular variety of maple tree you have. Behind me, on my right, and just to my left, are two sugar maple trees. You can see the variability in the color even though these are the exact same species of tree. I personally have tapped both of these trees for multiple seasons and gotten some incredibly sweet sap from these trees to boil down into sugar syrup. That being said, this one is just turning, so it has more of a green hue to its leaves still. In its prime in the summertime, sugar maples will have a true Kelly green color on the front of the leaf. On the back, it'll be just a little bit lighter. This here is a sugar maple tree. You can see now that it's autumn, the tree is starting to turn from its Kelly green color with a lighter green on the back side of a leaf to this fiery yellow color. You'll also notice the color of the bark is a dark brown, black, and it has a little bit smooth of a surface on the trunk of the tree. Now, deep in the winter time, you would likely see sap running from a few of the holes or crevices that have taken shape within the trunk of the tree throughout the year. Now, just to compare, directly above me here, this is also a sugar maple tree. You can see that this sugar maple is a lot more orange in color. Could be that this tree turned a different color because it turned faster than the other one. Because this tree here still has some green, it could just now be becoming yellow. Or perhaps the sugar content is a little bit different from tree to tree. But this is also a sugar maple. And again, you'll take note of the dark bark color on the trunk and branches of the tree. It's relatively smooth in comparison to some of the other maples that we'll be discussing. And I personally tapped both of these sugar maples here for several seasons and gotten some good sap. Next to me here is a young maple tree that I planted in my backyard. This is a sugar maple. The way that we can identify this is by the shape of the leaves, and we'll talk about different leaves of different maple trees for identification more closely in just a minute. But the one point that I wanted to raise with regard to this particular tree is the diameter of the trunk. It's very important to never tap a tree that is less than 10 inches in diameter. If you tap a tree while it is too young, you'll be drilling into the heartwood of the tree, and this is actually very damaging for the tissue. This will result in scarring, opening up the tree to pests and diseases. So you definitely want to wait to tap your trees until they reach a 10-inch diameter. After they reach a 10-inch diameter, you can definitely put in one spile or tap. If you were to wait until the tree is, I'd say probably somewhere between 18 to 24 inches in diameter, that is when I personally feel that it's most appropriate to put in 2 spiles and drain 2 buckets or 2 hose lines of sap at the same time without hurting your tree. Let's start our sugar maple identification by talking about leaves. It's a beautiful fall day outside. You can see the colors behind me here. And I thought we would take a moment to talk about the easiest time of year to identify your sugar maples, and that is in the autumn season. Sugar maples are known for their sweet syrup, but they are also known for their fiery color. Now, sugar maples are the trees that are outside in the autumn season with basically the leaves and the canopy that look like they have lit up and burst into flames. So they will be a bright orange, reddish, maybe even sometimes a golden hue, and they look like these leaves here. These leaves are from the same sugar maple tree. And in addition to their color, if I turn this leaf around, you can see very clearly that this leaf has 5 lobes. Somewhat resembles the shape of a star, or almost a handprint, if you will. So here's 1 lobe, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The 2 lobes on the bottom will be very, very small in comparison to the top 3. And you can find the 3 main veins on the leaf there, flip it over, and here. So again, the sugar maple, this is from the same tree, will have a fiery colored leaf, somewhere in the orange, burnt red color family, and it will take on the shape of 3 main lobes with 2 smaller lobes at the bottom. Now let's look at this leaf in comparison to some other members of the maple tree family. This here is a silver maple leaf. Okay, I picked this leaf up off of my property, and first of all, you'll notice the shape is different. Okay, so let me put this one down, and you'll see that this one still has the 5 lobes. These bottom 2 lobes here are a little bit longer though. They come out and they are closer in size to the taller lobes than this one. These are very short in comparison to the top 3 lobes. So we have more prominent bottom lobes on this leaf. As far as the color is concerned, if I turn this over, what the silver maple leaf is known for is the white or silvery looking hue on the backside of the leaf. So this is really pretty when the foliage is blowing in the wind. It kind of gives a shimmering effect, but it's the telltale sign that this is in fact a silver maple leaf. Another maple that's common is the Norway maple. Now this maple does turn a bright red color in the autumn season, but if we compare it to the sugar maple leaf, you'll see it's incredibly red as opposed to this fiery orange. So first of all, the color is a little bit different, but second of all, it's a smaller leaf, and it doesn't quite have those same depth of indentations as the sugar maple does. And it barely has these small lobes on the bottom. This side's almost non-existent on this particular leaf, but you'll see those 2 lobes that the sugar maple is known for on the bottom of the leaf. They're just not quite here. Still has the 3 main veins, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, but you'll notice it's just more of a circular shape. I don't have a red maple on my property, but what I do have that I can share with you is a Japanese maple. These maples tend to be a little bit squatter. They're short and round in shape, and they have these feathered leaves. Now there are 7 on this particular leaf here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can see that they're each quite skinny, very feathery, but there is really no difficulty in distinguishing here which one is the sugar maple and which one is the Japanese maple. So even though this gets a red to a purplish hue in the autumn season, the shape is distinctly different. So you can tap, as far as the USDA is concerned, any maple tree at the time this video is created. You can tap them, you can take the sap, and you can prepare it properly and consume it safely to create syrup. That being said, not all maples are alike in terms of quality when it comes to your syrup. The reason that the sugar maple is the most desirable tree for making syrup is that its sap has the highest sugar content. When that sap is taken from the tree and boiled down, it creates the thickest syrup or the thickest glaze. Now, I personally have experienced tapping a lot of silver maples, and they have a much more watery sap. When you get to the correct boiling temperature for syrup, it still stays pretty watery and it doesn't achieve that nice thickness. The flavor is great. It's still pretty sweet. Not as sweet as a sugar maple syrup, but still pretty sweet. But if you're going for the true to form, very sweet, sugary maple syrup that you're used to, I would say go with the sugar maple. In other cultures and countries, they do tend to tap other tree varieties altogether. For example, it's not unheard of to find birch syrup or birch sap that has been taken and boiled down into a syrup. So if when in doubt and it comes to leaf color, I would say wait until the autumn to tag and identify your maple tree. Again, you can tap any maple tree, but just to get that desired thickness and flavor of your syrup, you'll want to target a sugar maple.